All right. Adjust. Okay, stop it. I don't know. Might look pale, might look dark. Whatever it is, doesn't matter. We have our bagel today. That matters much, much better. And we are juiced for today's session, and for a very specific reason. Not the fact that it's squatting. Never juiced to squat, to be honest. Maybe 1 or 2 weeks out of the year where things feel good, I'm like, yay. But we're excited because of the cue that we found last week. This push through your arches thing that I think I mentioned in the last video, maybe once or twice, but something that I thoroughly explained on Instagram. I'll maybe explain it while we're doing the voiceover. But last week, we made an adjustment to the squat, just like cue-wise and foot pressure-wise, that changed the way that it felt, like, period. Like, I am not a natural squatter. I said things that I won't say on Instagram because there's no reason. I would need, like, surgical stuff to happen to change it. But the last 2 vertebrae in my spine are fused to my, it's called sacralized, right? So the bottom of my spine looks like a T-bone steak. So where most people are encouraged to butt wink around that last vertebrae, right? That big whoop as you abduct into the hole. My body can't do that. It's encouraged to butt wink 2 inches up, 2-3 inches up in the middle of my brace, which is why bias extension have so much issues, or have had so many issues with depth in the past. But this had us feeling natural, and like we weren't just good morning-ing weight. But that being said, we only got to do it like, what, we figured it out maybe 1 back down in, so we had 3 back down sets to try it. Today we're gonna go in and hit this top set. I think it's a low 5s, something like that. It's nothing crazy, but it's just 4s, and like we said, this whole subtotal thing is shelved at the moment. But it's gonna be some different engagement. We're gonna do some different things to warm up because it's more internally rotated, IR-based at the hip squat. So we're gonna have to get these like TFLs warmed up, just other little hot spots that we wouldn't normally have. Good hot spots to have because it's squatting like correctly for the first time, which is sweet. And then on bench, I'm not even sure what we have. It's also 4s, which I enjoy more than, by far, more than those singles. I'm not sure why, but on Mondays consistently after I squat, whether it's the fact that the low bar opens up my chest so much better and my upper back's lit up by the time I get to the bar, get to bench or whatever it is, Mondays bench, whether it's volume singles, whatever it is consistently like twice as strong as Saturdays, like tempo bench single. It might also be the fact that I deadlifted the day beforehand on Saturday, and just have, you know, a ton of fatigue going into it versus a rest day before, but like I feel like a different presser consistently on every Monday. So we're gonna get these eggs in. Maybe I'll show you guys what we do for pre. I realize this is another egg, like another pre-meal thing. Maybe I'll show you guys what we do for pre really quickly before we actually go in, but I'm excited. It might be a little too early to go in. What time is that? Ooh, 10:35. And we will show you what we've been doing for pre, at least for the last couple weeks. Normally we are on that EUPHORIA, which I do advocate for heavily just because of how raw and like natural all the ingredients are. It's really good for you. But the only thing is, I believe, yeah, I have one more up here. With the EUPHORIA, which is who we are sponsored by and actually advocate for. The sweetener in there is stevia based, and sometimes just stacked days on stacked days on stacked days, sometimes it makes my stomach a little weird. I haven't heard it from anybody that I've recommended it to or anything like that, but just because of that, I take like a week break, maybe every 6 to 7 weeks, and we shelf this for some of this, which is super not raw, super not natural. I hope you guys can see that. It's called Specimen Genesis by Galaxon. A ton of like really strong nootropics in here, clinically effectively dosed. I'm not a big nootropic guy, not for the claimed effects, just for the fact that like they usually don't work like they say they do, but these do. If you guys remember, I don't know if you guys, a certain amount of you guys will have seen that clip that me and Nabil did when he pulled that 800 pounds with straps in Corrupted when we were in Houston. And we were talking about those like Brain Blitz little nootropic pills, same company. They actually maybe the only people that I do a good job with. And then we throw the forbidden creatine dose in here, which I guess will be kind of hard. All right, YouTube can know. It's 10 grams. 10 grams of creatine. That's actually not what Rondell and Jamal, never mind. I'm not gonna, it's what Rondell does. Jamal, me and him will never agree on the creatine dose thing. That man takes creatine, man. Hyperfiltration of the kidneys. That man takes creatine. But I'm obviously not going to knock Jamal, period, because my friend is way stronger than me. So nothing to really knock. And then we always throw Pedialyte in here, and actually this notebook, this secret notebook, is full of notes from that business meeting we had before Friday, before Friday's Dads that I mentioned, about a company that me and my older brother are starting that I cannot wait to bring to you guys, and should replace something like this along with some other stuff like this really well. But that's it. We take our creatine, we take our pre, whether it's Specimen Genesis or Galaxant or Euphoria, excuse me, shake it up and then change. Because I don't know about you guys, I have this very weird thing that, like, if the gym is further than 20 minutes away, this is a ridiculous thing, but if the gym is further than 20 minutes away, I can't like wear that clothes in the car to go drive to I get there and I feel like I'm just like chilling, you know? But if I throw this on, like now this gym's within 20 minutes, so it's fine. But like I can't wear this to go train. We're gonna change and we're gonna go work out. All right, and here we are for a big bad squat day, and by big bad squat day, I mean pretty chill, but exciting because we're implementing new changes, and really more changes than I would normally implement in the same day, just because of like we're talking about this whole arches thing and this IR thing. We might be able to bias extension, change head position, all of this. We always start with just the bar. You see me just feeling out ER and IR. I get really, really deep. I mean, way deeper than I would ever squat. I wish I squatted this deep. That is some Clarence Kennedy type stuff. But I do some cat cows in this position. Just go into flexion and extension, really try and bias IR at the hip, and then shove the knees back out into ER. But I find like a cat cow under this, it's the most direct thing that possibly like loosens up those erectors and entire mid back for me. I usually maybe go through some like good mornings with the bar, but honestly I felt pretty good and loose. By the time I got down there was not much resistance to me going into flexion with that load on my back. Now we move into one red here. And again, you're just going to see me being really slow and intentional with these changes. As we move throughout the warm-ups, I cut out the whole, walkout and everything like that. But I did fall asleep on the couch last night, kind of passed out. And you'll see me being super apprehensive to get under the bar here. So it feels like there's like a cord connecting my jaw to like my upper pec. Like seems like a scaling thing, not a scaling thing. I checked. And once we get to this 2 reds is always when I throw on these wrist wraps. I don't know what it is. But it definitely feels significantly better with these wrist wraps. And then once I get up even in weight, it feels like my rear delts are taking so much more of that load. It's probably just they're more warmed up. But I haven't seen any of these squats until right now, and these honestly look, I mean, it's not enough weight to really tell, but good. To be honest, like I'm pretty happy with the way that these are looking, just with the fact that normally me picking my head up like that, as much as I wish I always could, pulls me into aggressive extension. I lose my brace, and that's not happening here. And once we get to this 3 reds here, we always throw on the sleeves. Not really a necessity thing, more of a comfortability thing. Oof, yeah, the deadlift cut happened to be right where I put that sleeve on, and these GYMSHARK straps have like these like gummy things on it. It was just sucks. Open wound, dragging a strap through it, not cool. Move into our 3 reds here, and this is usually when I can tell, I mean, ish, I guess, and that it just looks really good. It doesn't look like my squat. And you guys know, I mean, I am not a squat. I'm a really bad squatter. You will almost never catch me saying anything positive about my squat. But so far today, I don't really have many complaints. There, we lost the brace a little bit. But depth looked really solid. I'm hitting the hole confidently. That hole is a solid hole that I actually had a little bit of a hard time feeling out because I had, like, it was so easy to hit, and normally it's such a big problem. This is probably my favorite squat of the day until we get to our last back down set here. But this 495 was just pretty on point in terms of comfortability, hit the hole right back out of there. And like I said, the fact that we can actually pick our head up and even bias relative extension, relative to just thinking man, just pull that rib cage down, is huge. And as we get more comfortable with this different foot pressure and just this different squat overall, it is going to be big stuff here. This should take us to 7+, no problem. Our knee kind of, even the way that we were squatting, we should have been right there. Here is our top set, 530 for 4. I haven't seen it from this angle. I'm pretty sure we were high a little bit. Okay, it looks a little better from this angle, but I mean, we were squatting parallel. This felt so much better just in terms of strength than last week's 495 or 496, whatever it was, just flat 4 reds before I made this foot pressure change and stuff. And even here, we weren't at our optimal setup of the day. As we move into these back downs here, my back downs are always going to be so much lighter, like we talked about in the bench. It's really one of the best things I've done for my training period, especially when I'm making a technical change, not really blasting those back downs and expressing as much strength on them as I am using them as an opportunity to just get the volume in a new position and really try and standardize all of these major changes that we made to the squat. But we are still a little bit wide here, and probably I think right at this second back down set that we're moving into is a 2x5 at 430. I started to feel like my TFLs were kind of getting lit up, like I was talking about before we even went in, that TFL would probably be a hot spot just because I'm not used to being in this much IR. So I started thinking, like right about here, I was like, maybe I could play with this stance width a little bit, just because, right, if I bring the stance too close, I'm naturally going to supinate at the foot and kind of lose all of that internal rotation that I'm looking for. But I'm trying to get the closest stance that I possibly can while still being able to stay really well on those arches. And this set really told me, they were like, hey, dude, you are too wide. Nothing that you guys would probably be able to tell visually, but depth is fine. Depth is like kind of fine. Let me see here. No, it's fine. It's fine. No big deal. But by the end of this set, my lower back, like whole posterior hip capsule, my SI, my TFLs, they were like, dude, you're too wide. Stop being so hip dominant. So we went a little bit closer, and this is my favorite set of the day. Not even close. This is what I'm going to be sticking with for next week's actual top set. It is just probably 2 to 3 inches closer in the stance width, but I was able to bias that arch and that internal rotation pronation at the foot the entirety of the set, and this felt really natural. This almost felt like jumping. Normally, like I said, I think I did say I have to be careful to not be redundant with what I say in the car afterwards, but this felt natural and like we were jumping. So we're going to be sticking with that, and we were really excited to find that. It was an amazing squat day overall. We move into our bench here for the flip side of things that was not so good, just in terms of feeling, weaker, more frail. We're just at this lower body weight, that's how it goes. But we do our normal thing, this kind of guillotine press that we do here, like we talked about on Saturday. It's much more necessary when we're doing it without squatting beforehand, because I love squatting beforehand. Lights up that upper back. I'm so open in the chest, just feels so nice. We move from there. It's almost like a formality doing that. It's a habit thing. We move to 1 red, and then because I said it on Saturday that I might not be able to do it, I was like, damn, you know what? I'm going to do this 2 red jump here. And it just felt like a heavier 2 reds. You won't be able to tell by the way it moved, but I was like, all right, cool. At least I know I can do that confidently from now on. We move into our last warm-up at 309 here, and that's when I kind of knew. I was like, dang, you know what? We took more than that for a set of 9. That didn't feel like I could have gotten 9. Our top set, 343 for 4. And as you guys can see, moves better than it did on Saturday, which is the same weight that we took, but just not good, dude. I mean, this is a set of 4 with 343 maybe 2 months ago. Granted, heavier, peaked, all of this stuff, less fatigue. I was hitting maybe 375 for 4-ish, something like that. Our first back down set here, 315 for 5, and this was just, you'll see across the board, I think they all moved pretty similarly. Maybe this moved the best. But I noticed after that top set that we were definitely setting too far back, which is something that happens when I take self-unracks and things get heavy. I try to make a really easy lift off for myself there, but that comes at the expense of an actual efficient bar path and a higher touch point that I really need. and it wasn't happening. So I moved myself a little bit lower on the bench here for better pressing for sure, but still, you guys can see, I mean, that's a set of 5. I did a 4x9 with 315 like 4 weeks ago, and there's no way I had even probably another 1 or 2 reps on any of these sets. Whatever it may be, bench is not doing its thing right now, and that is A-okay. Ebbs and flows, and you just kind of ride the waves when they are there. We consistently kind of lose a lot of strength in the offseason and come in once we get to like triples and doubles when it comes to bench. Now, to an amazing accessory here that I'm finally able to put in, front foot elevated split squats, biasing that arch, and finally bringing that other foot close enough to where I'm not getting a ton of really like bad engagement out of it. I'm not going to be sore in the hip flexors. I'm not going to be sore in the quads. It's not a big test of mobility. And for the first time in my life, these feel really beneficial and really specific. I am loving front foot elevated split squats since making all of these changes to foot pressure and bringing that stance closer, that back foot closer to that front foot. Now, this is ridiculous. I have no idea who this rack is made for. I swear I can dunk, and this felt like it was higher. I was like, who could possibly be here for this? But I really do these as a lat stretch. I know it sounds like funny. People think I'm like joking on Instagram, but I've been doing weighted pull-ups aggressively since I was like literally 9 or 10 years old. If I was gonna like really look for a big vertical pulling stimulus, I would have to load up so much, or, you know, lat pull down with the gym pin and things like that. But this is genuinely at a neutral grip, a really nice way to loosen up my lats and teres. I'm just trying to reach back with that rib cage throughout the entirety of this eccentric, and that's just really opening me up in the lats in a really functional way. I love doing those. Now, this was crazy, man. I've never had, like, you guys can see this is going to happen throughout the entirety of the set. I thought I filmed the second one for you guys, and it's just not on the SD card. But this is our first set here with 3.5 plates on these tempo hamstring curls. And this hamstring curl was just like pulling me so far forward out of this seat. I don't know if it's the angle, whatever it is. I ended up correcting it by just like cinching that pad down onto my quads way tighter than is comfortable, by like probably 2 holes, and that just literally forced me to stay in the same place. But whatever it was, I mean, I'm actively pushing as hard as I possibly can against that pad to keep myself back there. As much as we do want to focus on, you know, or at least I personally believe that you should focus on keeping flexion in the lower back while you're doing these. I don't care if the top of the hamstring connects, you know, near the sacrum. I don't care. It's significantly better stimulus and way harder to use less weight and try and maintain that flexion. But it was not happening here. Not that much flexion. I would snap up. I did not crop that. That's all right. And we move into our, I guess, second heaviest triceps of the week, maybe third heaviest triceps. I don't know. I get to push it pretty hard here. And it's a unilateral push down. Just cable weight. I never like to put actual weight because it's not real. Everything feels different. I don't care if it's the same single pulley or double pulley or quadruple pulley, whatever it is. It's cable weight. It's fake. It's not real. It's just resistance. And we are going through a, you know what? We have a little bit too much protraction for my liking. One thing is just a protracted shoulder, but as soon as I see that other shoulder coming up, I know I'm cheating, and that was obviously a very tough last rep there. We did drop it from 8 to 7, whatever that means, on this little stack before moving forward. And we finished with our last little core here. I guess you'd call it core. I don't know. It feels like such a cheat. Cable crunches are such a joke for the most part. You have to load this up with so much weight to get a good stimulus, but I do hit core 4 times a week, and I do mean core. This would be more like ab, maybe a little hip flexor, but we do hit core really hard with some no fluff core movements that I absolutely love 4 times a week. So one of them is probably going to be a little bit fluffier. This is kind of just one of those things to get all of that tension like out of my lower back and hips before we move in. But overall, a really fun day, and this did do the job of getting that inflammation going. All right, you guys, long day. This has officially definitely become the longest session of the week. Primary SB. I think we were in there for like 4.5 hours. But overall, I guess a split, like more yin-yang-y type of session. Squat, really good. The only thing is on that top set of 523, which moved so much better than, and even felt so much better than even 4 reds last week before we had that kind of arches, epiphany, biasing, all of that IR and pronation at the foot. Still felt so much better than that. But I think we were probably we were hitting parallel. We were maybe 2 inches high, 2 inches high. But it didn't even feel like I was getting stuffed up into the hole like that. I just don't really know where the hole is because it feels like there's almost no barrier to hitting the hole now that I'm in IR the whole time, which is normally I'm biasing that external rotation, that knees out squat, and that's why I get stuffed up when I do go trying to like break that parallel because I have to abduct and crash into internal rotation entering the hole. But now that I just start here, it's like, oh, where do I just stop? Because this doesn't really feel like there is a natural stopping point, if that makes sense. But then, as I'm sure I talked about in the voiceover, we hit that like real stride, bringing that stance in. I think it was the last set of the day, the second set of that 386 for 7. And normally I would say no matter how good a set of 386 for 7 feels, it doesn't matter. You know, you can't tell. It's not enough weight. But the only reason that I'm confident is because the set right before it with the wider stance width was that 386. Exact same weight that felt much worse. And bringing that stance in a little bit, I think we found it. We are on the money. Phenomenal squat day. Bench is not benching across the board. I'm sure I also said that in the voiceover. But regardless, it's to be expected as this body weight creeps down. We actually did kind of like spike back up just a little bit, just because of what we did over the weekend with that birthday dinner. We're back up at like 226-ish, and we were rocking like that 222, 223 range. Anything that goes that fast, anything that comes that fast goes that fast. So not worried here. Within probably a week, we will be rocking those like, you know, whatever, 223, 222-ish body weight again. But even with that extra body weight, bench it's just not moving, but that's okay. It's to be expected as we're trying to keep this body weight low. These accessories are awesome, really tough, honestly, but not in like a strength way. Just like got to adapt to new stuff, and you know, this higher volume, and these split squats are awesome. Overall, we're really happy, honestly, and I'm the most excited outside of like these squat bar deads. Obviously, I'm always going to be, you know, the most excited probably about deads when everything like programming wise is geared towards pushing them. But still, with this little stance width adjustment we made, I am ecstatic for next week's top set of 4, which will be a PR no matter what. I haven't done 4s in I don't even know how long. I think 540 is our PR on them. We hit 530 today for 4 relatively easily. And honestly, based on next week, I wouldn't be too surprised if leaving next week, if it goes the way that I think it is, I'd be like, damn, I might have even somewhere near 600 pounds for 4, which would be massive for me, and be a nice indicator of like, all right, we are nearing 7 when we do end up, you know, all the way back up there. But we will see. It is 3:09. We left at like 11. I don't even know what time we left for the gym. Whatever time we left for the gym. It has been too long. I'm going catabolic. I'm atrophying. I'm going to go home, eat food, and then we are going to get ready for tomorrow's accessories that I am actually maybe more excited than anything to show you guys, because I love my accessories and it hasn't changed in probably 3 years, pretty much, outside of like very small degrees or pauses or tempo things. I attribute the accessories to a lot. So see you guys for accessory day tomorrow. We're going to go eat and get ready.